What up, perps? Kid Copious, back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here. We're repping America, the center, and common sense. And you know what? This special confetti gun, this is for episode 156. 3 years. 3 years of Purple State Party. There you go. Confetti gun. Confetti gun. Ha ha ha. So, right now, I just wanted to address anybody who's ever watched this and just let you know, thank you for fueling the fire. I started this because I was sick of red and blue. I thought it was time that the center takes back the power from the media. The future is purple. The enemy, both of them, are weakening. They're clinging to these fringy ideologies, fringe ideas, and their corruption is constantly now being exposed. And the time to strike is now. We must disrupt the status quo, however we can, but with common sense. We must move back to the middle before either side drags us off a cliff. And that edge is near. And I'm optimistic that we can, and we can soon. And now for some mental irregularities. So this comes from the account of Shay Sana, who is a prosecuting attorney in L.A., who was suspended for speaking out against the Gascon administration, misgendering Tubbs. Yeah, Tubbs down there, the dude with the yellow around his neck. He's a child rapist and potentially a murderer. And he was faking the whole thing about being Hannah. So the press release, of course, says, that he dead named her. Yeah. It's kind of weird, dead naming a trans child molester accused of murder. That's kind of a weird one. Like, I'm not really sure why we should really care how the rules of that particular thing are applied. Because he or she, whatever, however you're supposed to say it, I guess she, Hannah Tubbs, literally was caught on tape explaining to his father that he was now going to be a woman. And to make sure that you address me as her. You can read what they said right there. I'm not going to repeat any of that. But this is craziness at the highest level. We know that this person is faking. So why should we apply those rules? Gascon just doesn't want anybody speaking out against him. Here's another, just what in the hell? If you were born in 2007 or later, the California bill will bar you from ever buying a tobacco product, further assuring that the black market thrives. Because people will smoke. That's just the way it is. I mean, we've known for a long time it's not good for you, and people still do it. I myself do it. So, that means anybody in California 15 to 16 years old right now or younger will not be able to buy cigarettes. Okay, it seems like a good thing. But again, it should be their choice. It's about choice. Some people now refer to that as misguided American independence, but in the real word is choice. We're supposed to have choices here. And the campaign for tobacco-free kids, I applaud them. Kids shouldn't be smoking, but I don't know how 500,000 Californians under the age of 18 will die prematurely from smoking. I will try to do a little more research on that and figure that answer out, but I do know that if you smoke and you die, it's smoking related. Much like something in recent history was. If you haven't seen it, go watch it yourself. That's about the only image that I want to put up of it. But, that kid, 6'6", nearly 300 pounds, basically cold-cocked a teaching assistant, and brutally beat her. And they're defending him, which, fair enough. He is special needs, as they say. But What we really need to talk about in that video is the way that so many men just stood around and really did nothing. How the security and the police just kind of waited to see what was going to happen. Our country needs strong men and women. Both of them. Not just strong women. Because we got a lot of those. And that video showed it. San Francisco considers repealing a law that boycotted conservative states over anti-LGBTQ and abortion legislation. I mean, I get it with the abortion. That sort of makes sense. But some of that anti stuff was just how it was labeled. It really wasn't the intent. And a lot of it has to do with trying to protect female athletes in colleges and in high schools. So I don't know how awful they really are. But yeah, one of the supervisors said that they're going to repeal the ordinance entirely. It's an ineffective policy that complicates the business of San Francisco government and makes it very likely that we pay more than we should for goods and services. Yeah, thank you for laying out the problem with a lot of these liberal, left-wing, Marxist ideas that they have. It costs money, and they really don't do anything. So, got a bunch of California bills to watch. I'm so against Senate Bill 50. You know, I went through a lot of those. I myself went to jail for a cracked windshield. I've gone to jail for another traffic offense that's escaping me right now. But yeah, I've been pulled over for a lot of those things. Not window tinting. That's probably the only thing I haven't been pulled over for. Window tinting. I can't say it. But of course, they frame it in persistent racial disparities. You know, I don't know what the numbers actually show, because a lot of times they just list how many people were pulled over and how many people were arrested. They don't really concentrate on how many people, what percentage of people actually commit these small offenses. Window tinting, you know, not having up-to-date vehicle registration. I check my brake lights and my headlights and things like that on a routine basis. So, you know, maybe some people do. I don't know. But, again, that just protects criminals. And now they want to give incarcerated felons the ability to vote, which more than likely is going to lead to a lot of liberal DAs and liberal state district attorneys and liberal governors and things like that, because the criminals know. I mean, it's common knowledge that the liberals will work with you. Oh, boy, I could really hear the rain coming down here. Oh, yeah, that's great. And if they don't get their way, they do this thing called a gut and amend that allows legislators to remove an existing bill's text and replace it with language completely unrelated to the original. They already do it with the advertisement for propositions. They basically just lie about what the intent is or what the outcome will be. But they can write a bill, get it passed, and change it. Is this really something we should allow? This is something that I hope somebody picks up the ball and runs with. I don't know how to pick up that ball. But that needs to end. That should not be how our government functions. New York Times readers react to latest mask study. This is kind of interesting. If opposition to mask mandates was inspired by right-wing ideology, then a lot of right-wing ideologies were vindicated by the Cochrane report. Corcoran? I don't know. I've heard it both ways. Basically, a massive study on the efficiency of masks in stopping certain diseases was somewhat useful. Little to no difference. And there's, it's from the Corcoran. Physical interventions to interrupt or reduce the spread of respiratory viruses. Boom. Came out the end of January. It's just getting into my cipher right now. But it made little to no difference, and that it was an error that had physical, psychological, pedagogical, and political cost. I'm going to have to look that word up. We'll put it down below here. But, of course, people weren't impressed. But, the people who pushed for mask mandates were working for the welfare of the country, while the opponents were objecting for political, not health reasons. That's fine, but there was a cost. I early on said that as Americans, we ran at the bullets of D-Day. We ran up. We took the bunkers. We stood strong in the face of adversity. And that's not what we did here. Disabled adults lost social skills. Thousands of children with speech impediments had their development retarded, held back. And sadly, elderly men and women died surrounded by their half-covered faces of their children and grandchildren. If concern about these human costs were right-wing ideology, then a lot of right-wing ideology was vindicated by this report. They didn't do any good. I'm still having to wear them at certain places. I go into a lot of places with my job, and, every time I put a mask on, I could feel the air hitting my eyes. I knew from day one this wasn't working. But vindication, I'm not really looking for vindication. What I'm looking for is, how do we handle the next incident? DirecTV removed Newsmax. This is how censorship works. We can argue all day long that DirecTV has the right to remove Newsmax. That's fine. Private company, do whatever you want. But at the same time, we need to recognize this for what it is. This is censorship. This is a violation of the First Amendment. Maybe they're allowed to do it, but at the American heart that beats in this chest, that's a violation of the First Amendment. You're stripping people of their rights to get both sides. People in the middle know that you need to listen to both sides. That's how we end up in the middle. We listen to both sides. We said, I agree with you here, I disagree with you here, I disagree with you here, I agree with you here. Well, yeah, here's another one we can argue until the cows come home. Sure, Trump made a grandstand effort to go to East Palestine, Ohio, where that toxic train wreck happened. And yes, Biden did go to Ukraine. Did they both do it for photo ops? Sure. But whose photo op was in America? And whose photo op was in the country that has a company that paid his son on ungodly amounts of money for no real experience? A larger, more catastrophic train wreck reported at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It has been a train wreck, folks. Biden tells residents of East Palestine to give up drinking water for Lent. The bee. Buzz with that crap, man. But there he is. He's in Kiev. Great. Okay. Both gestures were grandstand efforts. I mean, Trump brought some supplies and stuff like that. And, obviously his presence in an area that voted for him, reassures the people. It gives them that moment to sort of forget about the issues that are going on and celebrate the fact that Trump showed up there. This guy's now getting called out by his own family. He talks about, I'm in a constant state of fear. My dad has held a gun up to my head multiple times. He claims he was beaten and sent to the emergency room. He was electrocuted and tortured. Yeah. However, the family's denying it, and they're using police records to back up what they're saying. There are no reports of those child or domestic abuses connected to the family. But he used that story to promote his political career or his career or his celebrity career, as I'm sure he's going to have, to serve as a Deputy Assistant Secretary of Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition in the Office of Nuclear Energy. Wow, I'm going to need some oxygen. Yeah. You know, I have nothing against diversity hires. I don't think you should label them diversity hires. I think you should just hire people that are the best. If they happen to make you more diverse, that's super good. That's super good. I have no problem with that. But, this was just a shit show. Biden administration bragged about building Made in America EV charging network, then waived it. So he gets the publicity, he gets the points for saying Made in America, but then very quietly, he just gets rid of it by waiving it. So it doesn't really make any sense. He literally just said it in the State of the Union address on February 7th. And just a few days ago, like a week or so after he says it, he's going back on it. He's going to allow stuff to come in from other places. Great. Further eroding America. It's just like with the Palestine thing in Ohio. He could have gone for a photo op in Ukraine or Ohio. He chose the Ukraine. He chooses foreign countries over us. He shuts down our ability to mine certain minerals, but then goes to get them overseas, already knowing that China has a bunch of it locked up. Speaking about EVs and stuff like that, just a little bit of Greta news here. Some people don't understand what her radical side really is. But they want us, she and her ilk want everyone in the developing world to stop driving, taking vacations, being connected electronically, eating beef and other animal proteins, enjoying year-round fruits and veg imported from other parts of the world, watching TikTok, consuming news on iPhone, cooking with gas, and living in a modern society. She insists that if done the right way, we can, quote, make time for space and for community, solidarity, and love, the true tenets of a good life. Wow. I can smell the patchouli. More likely is the creation of populations preferred by authoritarian governments. Citizens that are immobile, isolated, undernourished, uncomfortable, ignorant, and scared. There simply must be a better way. If Greta wins, everyone else loses. Think about that. Food shortages, lack of transportation, lack of communication. What they're asking for literally puts us back to the Stone Age. Will the planet be better off if we went back to the Stone Age? Maybe, but we won't be. We rely on what we rely upon. If that's going to be replaced, let's replace it smartly. And we're not seeing that. Hybrids are the answer right now. We can't figure out how to get more electricity. We can't figure out how people are going to charge their cars in a reliable way. You need to use adapters. We're going to have to be buying adapters for our cars to fit different fueling systems. Well, maybe we need something in the middle. How about hybrids? Greta? No. Okay. EVs have a gargantuan appetite for things like lithium, cobalt, copper, nickel. We don't have a lot of that. I don't think we have the resources to do EV. I firmly believe that. I also believe that mass didn't work, and we're being proven right. People are telling us, smarter people than myself tell me, hey, we don't have enough of these minerals. What am I supposed to do? Not believe them? We don't. We don't have enough. Literally, every single thing that we do creates some sort of emissions. Let's try to reduce those emissions. Fine, let's figure that out. But like ammonia here, It's used for fertilizers that have enabled crop yields to rise to levels necessary to feed the world. And it comes from petroleum. So if we shut down drilling for oil and gas and pipelines and refineries and chemical plants, we won't have enough food for the world. Of course, that supposedly is part of that group's plan to shrink the world population. Not having enough food, that's a great way of going about it. You know why helium is so expensive? Because helium is acquired at the same time we acquire natural gas. If we're not acquiring natural gas, we're not acquiring helium. It's about dollars and cents. And with the cents being with an S. Now, there you go. That's one of the most evil bastards out here. He's the one who is just feeding all of these woke liberal DAs, in air quotes, that are leading to ruin in our city. He is step one of the invasion. I don't know who's going to be invading, but it ain't going to be pretty. Neither is he. I just wanted to put this up here. Anthony Hopkins celebrates 47 years of sobriety. You know, I'm coming up on, I think, 31 years. You know, it's a struggle. And you have to view it as a struggle. I'll give you two pieces of advice about sobriety. One, don't do it alone. Get yourself to a doctor. Get yourself in a hospital. It's dangerous. I lost a friend who tried to go cold turkey. Okay? If you are an alcoholic and you start to suffer the DTs, just drink something and get yourself to a hospital. And once you do sober up, remember, it's a daily struggle and you must change your life to combat those daily struggles. You got to cut out too much drama, and you can't run from it. Don't hide from it. When you find yourself comfortable, just be around it. And don't fear it. That may have been more than two things, but they're all good. Which of these two places would criminals strike first? Yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer, ain't it? Biden promises to get rid of those resort fees by the time World War III starts. Yeah. You know how companies are. They're just going to raise prices here and there. I mean, a lot of what people are complaining about is what pays for it. There are a lot of fees with tickets that people complain about, but it's all about how people are going to get paid. Remember, when you go and you see, a 21 Pilots concert, that's a lot of money to put on that show for you to enjoy. Does it cost? Yeah, it costs. But with all the money that I've spent on concerts, even the less than expected ones, like Roger Waters, I felt like I got my money's worth. I had a good time, and I was glad that there were people there to serve me food and help park my car and do all those things that they do. Dad takes kid to mall to learn about how ancient ancestors shop for clothes. Man, I'm telling you, if you're not following the Babylon Bee, you should follow them. Just ignore anything you don't like. They make comments that I don't like. I don't feature everything that they put up. But this kind of shit is just fucking funny. Don Lemon forced to do sensitivity training until he can learn to quit referring to his coworkers as dusty old broads. Don Lemon returns to work disgusted to find female co-hosts even older than they were last week. Yeah, I don't know much about that. They talk about ratings bumps and stuff, and they're getting 300,000 people. So, I'm not terribly worried about it. More people watch Robot Chicken than his show. So, to me, that's a victory. Hunter asked Dad to pick up his paycheck as long as he's in Kiev. Oh, Lordy. Man, that's a zinger right there. President Biden arrives in Kiev for his performance review. Yeah, okay. Family that can't afford groceries, comforted by the fact that we have the most diverse administration in history. And diversity don't scare me. I love it. I like that. I vote that way. In the last California election, I basically voted for anybody who was Hispanic or didn't have like an overly white name or a D next to their name. So diversity, I'm fine with it, man. I think it's good for the government, but the way that the Biden administration went about it was just a shit show. I mean, some of their pillars of diversity have just turned out to be train wrecks. Pierre, Breton, Buttigieg. I mean, come on. Kamala Harris. And here's the best one. Ohio area turtles develop sudden interest in pizza and the martial arts. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtle power. I was a huge fan, man. When the first movie came out, I actually took my Raphael action figure with me and set him on my lap. That's the kind of dork that you're dealing with here, man. But, you know, I hope all things aside, I hope I can get my message out there and maybe we can start fixing this nation. They put a blue mask and gave him some swords. I wish it was wrapped. They should have given him red and some size. So in the opening, I spoke of optimism, but yin and yang dictate that I speak pessimistically now. Common sense may actually be losing. Sure, we'll look at two things that we tend to glorify as victories. Schools are teaching ideologies. Their dark sides are being revealed and shut down. Rogue teachers, cover-ups, and a lack of discipline and safety have started to reduce enrollment in some schools. It seems like the left way of teaching is not working. People are fleeing it. But one of the biggest complaints about public schools from students, parents, even teachers is overcrowded classrooms. So as we expose the stupidity that goes on, we're also helping them to thin the herd. Homeschooling, private schools, charter schools, and other alternatives still lead to the college system where people can be brainwashed by the left. The other thing we celebrate is some of the population shifts. Even in the center, we celebrate it. We're like, oh, hey, these people are leaving California because California is being run by a bunch of dipshits with a bunch of dipshit ideas. And we celebrate it like a victory. But is it? If liberals leave due to the cost, they just spread across the country like a virus. If it's conservatives bailing, such as in California, then we in the middle and the people on the right lose even more power, making that state even more blue. But either way, it's good for Gavin's political future, and Gavin is not good for anyone. This is one of the reasons why 3 years ago I started doing this. Because I live in California and I see what the Democrat plan leads to. But I also see certain things on the left that I don't. I'm Kid Copious. I just did 3 straight years, once a week. Never missed one. So I get another confetti gun. Confetti gun. I'm Purple State Party. And so are you. Peace, y'all. Thanks for all the views. Love ya. Dance it out.